Welcome to the Unboxable podcast. I'm Elena Turley, your host. I founded the Soul Mama Hub, which is a connected community and membership helping mothers go from burnt out, stressed out, desperately needing a minute for themselves to relaxed, full of joy, and with the energy to show up as the best mum possible. This is where we rediscover ourselves, find meaning, and nourish our body, mind, and soul. This week, I would like to share a very simple concept. This is something that I've noticed is a little bit of a challenge in our quote unquote busy world, modern world, especially if we live in cities and regional centres where there's a lot going on, and especially when we have children and commitments and work and all the things that mothers do in our culture. And what I've noticed is that we seem to have this kind of polarization between either we are busily doing our work, our mothering, our schedules, our activities, sometimes our hobbies and interests, social life, family life, and our slowdown, like our yoga or our day retreats or weekend retreats or massages or anything we do that's rejuvenating from a sort of body, mind and soul perspective. And there doesn't seem to be a lot in between. The problem with that is that if we only have those two ends of the spectrum without the middle, we run into a bit of an issue when there's a backlog of too many things to do and we don't have time and space to go and do the extreme, the yoga, the yin yoga, the extreme slowdown activities, or if we don't have the money to go and get a massage, or we don't have the support or the care, say if a partner is working in shifts or away or a lot, then we don't have that time to ourselves. So what do we do then? That sets up a bit of an issue. And what I see coming up for a lot of women in the community that I'm in and in the Soul Mama community is that there can be a kind of a lag. And over time, when we don't get those special spaces and moments in a deeper sense, it can build up, and then it can accumulate into problems. And it can accumulate into a sense that we don't have any moments to ourselves. It can accumulate into a sense that our lives have lost meaning. And that loss of meaning, that loss of roots and a sense of connection to our values and to each other is a really big problem. It can become mental health issues. It can become a deep sense of loneliness or unhappiness. And it can cause a lot of stress. I know for me in a micro sense this week, my husband's been more busy at work, so I've been doing the morning get up and go to schools on my own. And I've noticed my frustration levels have been pretty high. I've had a lack of tolerance because we've had a week of a sick baby, a sick boy. He's not a baby, he's a 5-year-old. But, when they're sick, it's like you've really got to care for them deeply. And I had to cancel a lot of the things that I had in place to support myself last week. And it's created an interesting, different perspective for me this week. It was like a forced slowdown, but it was also an increased pressure. So I had to spend more time at home. I had to spend less time working and do more work at nights, which has affected my sleep. And there's this kind of flow-on effect that happens. And it can be really deeply unsettling if that goes on for week after week after week. For whatever reason, I've been in that position in the past. And it's pretty, normal, quote unquote normal, for this to happen to women during motherhood, where your needs just get pushed to the back of the line, pushed to the back of the line, pushed to the back of the line. And, I want you to know it happens to all of us, but also I want to give you some tools and some really great, just simple ideas that, although they're obvious, I feel like we need to be reminded of them and the simplicity of them fairly regularly. So the first one I want to mention is just awareness, the simple act of becoming aware when you become more tired. For me, that this morning, I became aware that I was getting inordinately frustrated about small things. And I thought, well, this is a sign that today I need to spend some serious time looking after myself. Now, that may not be a lot of time, but it may be an increase in awareness around what it is that gives me a sense of slowness, of expansion, of space. What is it that I can do today, even if it only takes 2 minutes, to just sit still? Maybe it's make a cup of tea and force myself to delay chores and delay the non-urgent things that we have in our mind on our mental load, that we feel like we have to do them all, but maybe if one of them slips to tomorrow, it won't be the end of the world. How can we allow ourselves that privilege, that important necessity of space and slowing down? And it could be something tiny. It could be a shower. It could be that I sit down and read 3 pages of a book. It could be that I call a friend. Just becoming aware that we need to do one of those things that connects us more deeply and that connects us to other people that support us. It might be just having a conversation, writing a journal entry, really simple things. I'm a big one for simple things. And they all come from a place of awareness that we need it. So what can you do today to become aware of what you need and carve out that space and time for yourself? Now, if you're a breastfeeding mother, it might be that you sit down and breastfeed with a glass of water and close your eyes and quiet the mind. It might be that simple, and that's great. So whatever that is for you today, it could be more complex if you have older children. It could be that you go for a walk outside. It could be that you call a friend to go for a walk with them. Whatever it means for you, there's a million different things, and I'd love to hear what they are. Please let me know. And the next thing that I would really encourage you to do, and this is again a really basic thing that often we forget, is to think about your hydration. How are you ensuring that you hydrate yourself enough every day? Is there something you can do? Do you need to put marks on a glass or encouraging remarks on a glass to remind you to drink that water? Do you need to get a water filter? Look on Facebook Marketplace or a secondhand Gumtree, whatever it takes to get yourself some good water, some water that tastes good. Think about ways that you can encourage yourself to hydrate. Keep a water bottle by the bed, whatever it takes. Think about your habits. How can you habit stack? So when I brush my teeth, I won't just wash my mouth out with that water. I'll also drink a cup of water. That's called habit stacking. So becoming aware of ways that you can add a habit to something you already do. Think about ways that you can hydrate more easily and more consistently. I know I have to do that for my training at the moment. It was a great comment that was made to me by one of my trainers. And I thought, no matter how hard I try, I find it really difficult to drink enough in a day. So I've currently been doing a lot of those things I just mentioned just to make it easier and just to consider. So every time I walk into the kitchen, I drink a glass of water, or I just start sipping. When I'm sitting at my desk, I just sip and sip and sip. Make sure there's always a full container of water sitting on the desk. And when it empties, I fill it straight up again. And that's been making a really big difference actually to my sleep. So the next one is a little bit more esoteric, but what I'd like you to do is really connect into what are the values that you hold dear. What sort of values do you have in your life? What are your most important priorities? For me, they're basically, and I could go into more detail about this. Maybe this is a topic for another podcast, but essentially the things that are valuable and important for me in a fundamental way are family, community, and health and well-being. And then there's, a lot of things that come off the back of that around looking after the planet, being a better custodian for nature. There's a lot of things that come off the back of that, but they essentially are my simple values. So have a look at your days, and I want you to think about, are you actually consciously encapsulating your values in a day? So a close family and a safe and aware and a supported family are one of my key values. So I make sure that every day I give encouraging and loving remarks to my children, no matter what. Every single day, I tell them I love them. I have physical contact with them when I see them. My older boy, it's a bit harder, but every time I see him, I give him a hug. That's one of the ways that I encapsulate that. And sometimes they'll cross over. So healthy meals, sitting down at the table, turning off all screens, clearing that table and sitting down together and sitting down and talking about how we feel. That's another way that I make sure that I look after our health and well-being mentally and also physically with healthy food. So there's a lot of ways we can think about, are we encapsulating our values day to day? Is there one thing that you could do in a day that would bring just those values into your day? Now, I want you to understand that if this feels heavy or difficult or like too much for you to think about right now, then maybe this is not something you do. Maybe you go back to the awareness and the hydration and rest. You think about, okay, how can I rest and rejuvenate so that then I can think about more complex things and bigger things? So this is not to add things to your mental load. This is not something that needs to feel like you berate yourself because you're not doing it. So one of the biggest parts of this is around expectations. We have so many expectations of ourselves. They come from a lot of different places. Yes, some of them are from social media or popular culture or television or magazines, but actually I think a lot of them are inside us from a very young age. And the more we can become aware of our expectations on ourselves and understand which ones are realistic and gentle and nurturing and aligned and feel light and enlivening, on which ones are actually not those things, which ones are creating a deeper shadow for us, are creating a pressure that we can't live up to, are creating guilt and shame and unrealistic expectations of ourselves and actually doing the opposite of what we would like to achieve or create in our lives. It's really important to become aware of the difference. So again, that's an awareness. So go back to awareness. Once you feel safe and sure about your expectations and about what you feel you can and can't do and what you feel is real in your life and applicable to your life, then come back to, how can I encapsulate my values in a day? And it can be simple. It doesn't have to be big and heavy and writing long lists and spending lots of money. It can be simple. And I want you to really open up that possibility that, are you willing to do something really simple to bring your values into your life? Buy less plastic, maybe that's it for a month. Buy less plastic. Just simple. Buy the fish in the supermarket that's in the wooden box, not in the plastic bag. Keep it simple, So what can you do in a really simple way to bring your values closer to your daily reality? So that, my friends, is today's podcast, Love. And I hope you've enjoyed this. And it's always beautiful for me to come in and share what's working for me and the women that I work with as well in our community. And I really love that you've been able to take a moment to listen to this. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you later. Bye for now. If you have enjoyed this podcast that I produce and release for free, please like, share, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Soul Mama Hub.